Today we're very fortunate to have with us Shelley Cadillac, who is the Education Promotion Specialist from Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority. And she's going to tell us more about what we can do in the area of recycling and waste reduction. Shelley, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paul. As mentioned, my name is Shelley Cadillac. I am the Education Promotion Specialist with the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority. Today's presentation will give insight into issues concerning waste reduction and recycling, which is one component of sustainability. The Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority is a partner for the Summit of Sustainability Award and has created and implemented recycling programs for Summit County businesses that offer just an array of ideas for your organization on your journey towards sustainability. The Summit of Sustainability judges are looking for companies that are implementing programs that have good waste reduction and recycling programs and have found ways to educate and engage employees and just kind of reach out to their surrounding communities. So today I will introduce to you some waste reduction, recycling program strategies that will assist you in your sustainability goals, not only at work but at home. As the slide shows, yes, we're all in the same boat. Times are changing, and with that, we've revised our mission. We as an agency, we want to be a zero waste community. We want Summit County to be a zero waste community, and it can be done through leadership and education. And as the slide shows, being that we're all in the same boat, let's start with citizens, because citizens are the consumers. And let me tell you, citizens generate waste at home, at work, at school. And in Summit County, there are over 500,000 people consuming and discarding close to 5 pounds of waste per day. That's over 2.5 million pounds of waste per day. That's just locally. And according to the Ohio EPA, over 33 million tons of that waste is food that was discarded in 2010. And that's important to note because we'll talk about that a little bit later. So back to the boat. Businesses are in the boat too, as you can see, and waste is bad business. Waste represents wasted money on the purchasing end, and not only that, but the disposal end too. Not to mention, manufacturers need what ends up in your dumpster as raw material to make new products. So, you know, from the manufacturing end of business, waste, recyclables provides jobs, and it also helps the economy. The Ohio EPA and other environmental groups are in that boat too because their mission is to protect public health and the environment by promoting alternative waste material management options. And they're trying to reduce reliance on landfills, and they're faced with some tough choices with, you know, the economy. Waste actually is declining, and there's also new technologies emerging that we have to deal with. And as I mentioned, waste is declining, and we've heard that it's directly tied to the economy. But even so, I believe the impression of waste, that leftover resource, just is not getting the proper handling that it deserves at this time. So this is a hierarchy of solid waste management, and it shows the most preferred options to the least preferred. So now we know we're consumers and waste is left, right? And a good waste management program would definitely use this hierarchy. And what's most preferred is reducing waste at the source. And the best example I have for reducing waste is, I'll tell you, the packaging industry is really trying to reduce their size, and that's really a lot tied to their bottom line. And you know, a lot of companies are going digital versus hard copy, and there's a whole lot of examples we could give about waste reduction. But the point is it's important to reduce waste at its source, and then recycling comes second. The words combustion and energy recovery is listed there. That's talking a lot about incineration. We believe this part of the model is definitely changing with so much organic material being introduced to the waste stream. So now there's things like mass and digesters that are gaining a lot of momentum as well. It's also important to note that landfill and incineration without energy recovery is the least preferred, and there are still a lot of landfills out there that are not recovering the energy at this time. It's important to note the food recovery hierarchy, too, when you're starting to deal with waste, because so much food is disposed of. 2006, there was a study that the American households throw away about 14% of the food they purchase. On an average, that's about 470 pounds of food that's, put in the trash annually. That's a household of 4. I'll tell you, that's wasting about $600 a year in money that could have been spent on other goods. Not to mention, these households are also paying for disposal of their trash as well. So there was, let's see, in 2010, 14% of households were food insecure as well. So food is a pretty big issue. So if you look at the hierarchy, the source reduction part of it is mainly a change in behavior. Restaurants are doing a good job of trying to conserve food that's wasted. At a household level, it's a matter of just changing our purchasing habits. When we purchase items that are fresh, cooking those first. There's a lot of behaviors and things that we could look at in terms of source reduction with food. But what's also important to note is that if there is edible food left over, it's important to donate that excess food to a food bank or a soup kitchen or a shelter. There are laws that are put into place, the Good Samaritan Act, for example, to protect restaurants from donating food. So it's important that after you've put in a really good waste reduction, source reduction management plan, it's important to take the edible food and donate. And then some of the other things that can happen is you can use food for industrial uses. They do oil for fuel, food discarded for animal feed that happens, animal feed production. But kind of the last on the list on the hierarchy is the composting of food, which that's a great thing in itself, because composting, you're taking recycled food scraps to provide nutrients into the soil. With waste reduction as the most preferred method, the remaining material has options as well, and the next option is recycling. Waste reduction and recycling work hand in hand. One sometimes spurs the other, but either way, you may start with a great waste reduction program and then decide to add recycling, or recycling can then generate ideas of ways to reduce the waste to begin with. Either way, if you're already involved in a recycling program, this information is important to you. And if you're just getting started, it's important as well. You may have come to a fork in the road and you just really don't know where to start, especially if you're new to these big concepts about sustainability, and being that recycling is one aspect of it. Remember, sustainability in its simplest definition is making sure that we have and will continue to have water, minerals, resources to protect human health and our environment. And the beauty of recycling is that it's an easy starting point. It's one aspect of sustainability, and recycling could be actually used for an overall lesson to describe sustainability. After all, recycling is saving resources like energy and water, and since we're all consuming items on a daily basis at work and at home, and these items are recyclable, it would be simple enough to engage in a recycling habit. Then later, options like energy conservation, alternative sources of transportation, alternative sources of energy, product stewardship, and other environmental issues can be tackled. The big picture is important to look at, too, when you're dealing with waste reduction and recycling. The big picture is important because what we see at the curb or in our dumpster is just really a small portion of the waste that's generated. When you think about the extraction of minerals and the manufacturing process of making new materials, to transportation, all the way to the utilization and then the disposal end of it, it's a huge, huge cycle. It is important, though, that this material stays in a cycle. And on every step of the way, starting from the extraction point, recycling can reduce that. Recycling can reduce the amount of virgin material that the manufacturers need to make new material. Recycling can provide feedstock to the manufacturers for them to make new materials. Recycling can, in a lot of cases, reduce the amount of transportation. So all across this cycle, it's important to work at every angle of it, because you want it to be a cycle. You don't want it to be linear, because then what happens is the material then just has one direction it goes, and that's the end. They call that cradle to grave. That means the materials are being produced, and then they're ending up in a disposal situation. You don't want to see that. You want to see the cycle. So we bring that into play just to look at the big picture. I also wanted to show you the categories of materials that end up in a landfill. And then the next part is that we'll show you 3 programs that can reduce the material going into the landfill by a good 60%. It's important to note that all of the material represented here, well, at least a good half of it, is organic. If you look at the paper products, the food scrap, the yard trimmings, that's a big portion of the waste stream that is definitely has another use if it can be separated at your homes or at work. Plastics is probably not as high as you thought. You can see metals and glass and other items are not large amounts. Metals primarily is at 9% simply because it has a good bit of value to it as well. So the Summit Akron Solid Waste Management Authority decided, along with our new vision, that we are going to do everything we can to make it easy on Summit County to recycle. We have received calls from businesses, from schools, asking for assistance on recycling for years. And we decided we were going to put together a program that was really just going to give them everything Summit County needed, everything the business needed to make recycling work. We fund this program. We start off with what's called waste assessments, and these are important because, you know, it gives the people within the organization the ability to look at what they're purchasing and then look at the entire usage of that and how it ends up in their disposal and what else they could do differently. We also provide services that are there to pick up the material and take it to its proper place to make it sure that it's recycled. We provide indoor containers. We provide outdoor service containers, education, toolkits, training, and not only that, we come out and we look in your recycling bins to make sure things are happening correctly. And if they're not, we come out and we retrain. We do everything we can to make sure that that program is working. And it's also important to note that with careful planning, you can potentially lower your disposal costs. We've seen companies go from large compactors to small dumpsters because of a good waste management and recycling program. As you can see, the name of our program is Be the One Recycling That Works. And the reason we talk about this one person is because it usually starts with one person. There's always one person interested, one green team leader, one individual that's really interested in getting the program started. That's the idea behind the name. And there's more to it than that. Recycling one item has a lot of impact on the environment, and I'll show you some ideas behind that with our educational pieces. So here's our 3 programs. There's a lot of detail behind each of them, and I'm going to briefly go over them with you so you can get an understanding to see if they may be a good fit for your organization. To start with our bottle and can recycling program, we take plastic bottles, aluminum, metal cans, glass jars, green, brown, and clear bottles, again, bottles or jars. We provide for you up to 10 recycling containers with liners, startup liners that you can put throughout your company. We provide service containers. It could be a 95-gallon tote or it could be an 8 cubic yard dumpster that would be stored outside. We provide training sessions and, as I mentioned, the educational toolkit. And we also have a weekly pickup that will come and pick up your material. It's also important to mention that with this program, you're going to reduce what ends up in your dumpster by 17.9%. One thing, though, to consider is that you have to be able to fill up two 95-gallon totes. If you can see up on the right hand of the poster there, that's a 95-gallon tote. You need to be able to fill up 2 of those a week to qualify for the program. The next program we have is our paper recycling program. It's the middle flyer. This program, we provide up to 50 18-gallon desk side containers. You do not need liners for this. We provide 95-gallon service containers, as we call them, and this is where a company will come and pick them up. We do a training session along with an educational toolkit, and this is an on-call program. So when your 95-gallon container is full, then you can call and they will come pick it up. The next program we have is our newest one. Oh, I'm sorry, back to the paper. You will reduce your paper volume because most companies, the majority of what they throw away is paper. So if you sign on to this program, you will reduce your trash volume by a good 28%, that 28.5% from recycling your paper. And now the food scrap program, the last one, and it's our newest program. We provide totes, as you can see on the left there, 95-gallon totes. They can be stored indoor. You can use them outdoor. They come with a compostable liner. We provide a training session and educational toolkits as well. We do either scheduled or on-call pickups depending on your volume of food scrap. And as you can see, we take an array of food. We also take some paper products, which people are surprised to know about, waxed cardboard, and just basic organics as well. So with all of those items that you see there, you can expect to really reduce your trash by a good 60% if you implement all 3 of these programs. We did a case study on these programs, a pre- and post-test, and we found that people really viewed recycling as more important after it was implemented at work, and even and some people started to recycle at home because of recycling at work, which was great. And we found that people started to routinely separate recyclables at work based on this program as well. So this really was teaching people how to recycle at work, and it was actually helping them implement programs in their households as well. So probably one of the most important parts of the program, in my opinion, is once you sign on, that's great, but there's a lot more to it. The operation side of it, it's important to really consider this aspect of it. Are the containers, the recycling containers, in the correct places? Are there enough of them available for people to use? Are there posters clearly marked nearby letting people know, what goes in the containers? Are they being emptied out into your service container promptly? Are people aware? Are you promoting this? Are there, again, the posters available? Is staff informed about what is recyclable and what gets placed into what container? These are all important things to know. And then reminding people about it frequently is important as well. And these things, the operation, the promotion, the education, all of those working together will really provide a successful recycling program, along with our toolkit. And as I mentioned, one person can really make a difference. At the top, there are some factoids that will let you know about recycling one item and how great it is to help things like conserving energy and operating computers. And these factoids can be placed throughout your organization. We also provide posters that are used to identify what is recyclable, place those near containers. We do a window cling so that people coming in and out of your organization will know that yes, you do support recycling, and you are on Be the One Recycling Network's program. We provide stickers that will go on your bins to identify what goes where, especially if you're on all 3 of of our programs. And then we also have a Get Caught Green-Handed incentive, which is a lot of fun when you start off recycling, when you kick it off within your organization and you see people doing the right thing, you can reward them. We do McDonald's gift cards, ice cream cones, those kinds of items just to really get excitement generated within your organization. So sustainability talks a lot about embedding in your culture within your organization, and recycling really has to be embedded within your organization to make it work. And the first and probably the most important thing that needs to happen is that there needs to be a role model, and it needs to be from the top down. You know, the staff needs to know that everybody is on board. The second bullet, competition, really helps as well, just getting people excited about it and giving them a competition of some sort, you know, who can recycle the most on what floor. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. You also need to make it easy. You need to let people, you know where the containers are. Just don't make it too difficult, then they're likely to not want to participate. It's important for it to be fun and exciting too. That's like with Get Caught Green-Handed. You know, how about the CEO walks around with their hands painted green, for example? Anything you can do to make it exciting. Capture quick wins. When you see people doing the right thing, reward them for it. Let other people know about it. Talk about it. Recognize people for that. Also, allocate your resources so that people know that, you know, there's some funding going on in there. If you start to see some cost savings on your trash side, then set some money aside to purchase T-shirts or to purchase more reward incentives, or make sure you have enough, you know, containers available. Take field trips to the locations where the recyclables are going, things like that. Communicate the message regularly. Tell the story. Customize information within your organization so that it works well for people. For example, we do food composting at the Akron Zoo. Well, you know, they have bones and, you know, that they're feeding animals. That would be, we customized our pieces to cater to the zoo specifically. If managing talent, if you have somebody within your organization that's really excited, you know, make sure you get them involved and, you know, really spend a lot of time with them working with the program. Reinforce, and the last one I could say over and over again, inform and repeat, inform and repeat. You can't just forget about it. It has to be something that is talked about, something that is recognized frequently within your organization, especially to basically embed that within your organization. I wanted to tell you about where our recyclables end up so that you can have a good understanding of the end of use. Our bottle and can program, the recyclables go to Kimball. This is a material recovery facility. There's one in Twinsburg now within Summit County. There's also one in Canton. They take all the plastics, the metal, the glass, goes to this material recovery facility. It's separated, and then it goes out to market. They try to keep material as domestic as possible. Some does go overseas. Some of the plastics and, you know, some paper products goes overseas as well. The next one in the middle, NeoShred, that's where our paper goes. It's located in Akron, and the paper is then goes out to local paper mills. They're actually making a lot of tissue paper, and they use shredded paper for insulation and things like that. And then the last one is Rosby's Resource Recycling. That's where our compost goes, and there they have some great farms for growing berries, and they also use the compost for soil amendments. All of these places would make great field trips for you and your staff as well. So I'm going to end now. I wanted to mention a couple of things that if you are a participant in our program already, any one of our programs, we have over 313 participants at this time. We definitely thank you for the participation. And we want to also mention that at this point, you should definitely see a waste reduction in your trash, as well as possibly some cost savings on your trash bill. At this point, I'd also like to mention recycling is the easiest way to engage your employees. It's the easiest, it's hands-on. These are things that people are involved with on a daily basis. As long as you're just working these programs through and informing people, it's easy. It'll work. And it definitely is heading towards the direction of sustainability. It's one component of sustainability that we'd like to see throughout all businesses throughout Summit County. So please visit our website at www.saswma.org or call us at this number 330-374-0383, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. And we could simply just start with a waste audit, just really getting to know your needs that you have in terms of waste management practices. Thank you.